Welcome to this week's episode of In the Ruck of It, where we take a look at everything that went down this week in SA Rugby. This week, we look at the Springbok calendar for 2021 and the Rugby Pass article written by Ben Smith. We also ask, should Morne Steyn be considered for Springbok selection to face the British and Irish Lions? And finally, we take a look at the upcoming games for this weekend and try to predict the outcome. So let's not waste any more time and get straight into the Ruck of It. But before we do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Test rugby is back and we are in for a jam-packed year. We are only 6 weeks away from the Springboks' first test match since their World Cup win in 2019, with 2 test matches against Georgia on the 3rd and the 10th of July. The Boks take a week off and then face the British and Irish Lions in their opening test match down in Cape Town on the 24th of July, followed by 2 more test matches up in Joburg at the F&B Stadium on the 31st of July and the 7th of August. The very next week, we kick off the Rugby Championship with the Springboks facing Argentina in South Africa for 2 back-to-back tests on the 14th and 21st of August. The Boks then head down to Australia for a 2-week quarantine. We still await news on the details of the quarantine period and whether they will be allowed to train during that time. The Boks take on the Wallabies in Australia on the 11th and 18th of September, and then we head down to New Zealand for the final 2 test matches against the All Blacks on the 25th of September and the 2nd of October. Well, looking at the schedule, it is clear that the All Blacks and the Wallabies have the upper hand with barely any travel time required, while the Boks will be coming off a British and Irish Lions tour with a 1-week rest in between. According to the World Rugby schedule, the Boks are still to face France, Fiji, England and Wales before the end of the year. This means we are in for 15 Springbok test matches this year. Will the Boks be able to keep up with all this rugby, and will they be able to keep their #1 spot in the world rankings come November? Well, according to Ben Smith of Rugby Pass, they don't even deserve to be #1 as it is. I think the Kiwis are taking the Super Rugby breakup a bit harder than I thought they would. This was clear in last week's Rugby Pass article by Ben Smith titled, "The notion that the Springboks are the world's best is nothing more than an illusion at this point." It is clear that he has reached the second stage of grief, anger. In his article, he says that the Springbok World Cup victory was well deserved, and to that I agree. But then in the rest of the article, he goes on to disprove that very point. He says the win was, quote, aided by fortune. But let's call a spade a spade. What he is saying is that we got lucky. His argument for this is that we had an easy pool draw and that we lost the only tough match in our pool against the almighty All Blacks. To, quote, secure a quarterfinal against first-time finalist Japan and then beat an injury-riddled Wales by 3 points, end quote. So let's break this down, shall we? We know that the top nations will always have an easy pool draw, just because of how the draw is done. There are 4 pools and the top 8 teams are split equally into those 4 pools, with one of them having the 9th best nation, making that pool the pool of death. Let's have a look at France's 2023 World Cup draw. We know that the top 2 teams from Pool A, B and C will go through to the quarterfinals, with Pool D being the pool of death. So the argument that the Boks were fortunate due to an easy pool is moot. And then he suggests that the first-time finalist Japan gave us an easy quarterfinal. To that I agree. Japan, as good as they have proven to be, stood no chance against the Boks. However, that Japanese team convincingly beat Ireland, who were at the time 2nd ranked in the world, and Scotland, who were at the time 7th ranked in the world, to make that quarterfinal. So if we go purely on form, the All Blacks are the ones that got the easy route, facing out-of-form Ireland in that quarterfinal. Then there's the case of the injury-riddled Wales. Do I even need to comment on that? It's a World Cup tournament. The team with the most depth will come out on top. He goes on to say that we do not deserve to be ranked #1 in the world because, quote, the Springboks have ducked competitions and hid since winning the World Cup, trying to prop up the illusion that this side is the best team in the world, instead of making that a reality with a bold 2020 campaign. I guess when you're living in a first world country of 4.8 million versus a third world country with 59 million, something as small as a pandemic doesn't really affect you much, eh? I'm sure SA Rugby players wanted to take the big pay cuts and that SA Rugby administrators were happy to cancel the biggest income generator for 2020 because, you know, being ranked number 1 is more important than, I don't know, keeping SA Rugby afloat? It obviously doesn't take much to get an article posted by Rugby Pass. One would think that the editors might require the writer to provide some sound evidence to back his article. But hey, the next stage of brief is bargaining, so I'll cut them some slack for now. Morne Steyn will no doubt go down in history as one of SA's best fly halves. There was a time where, with no time left on the clock and a penalty kick from halfway to seal a victory, most South Africans would feel at ease knowing that Morne Steyn was behind that ball. His recent move to the Bulls has reignited this player, and at the age of 36, he's proving to still be in peak condition. So, would you select him over Handré Pollard? The short answer to that is, of course not. The 27-year-old Pollard is without doubt the superior player. He is the most complete fly-half with an equally calm bearing. He has an accurate kicking record and is a threat when it comes to attacking the gain line, and he has shown formidable strength in defense. Okay, so we'll play him off the bench, right? Is he as versatile as Frans Steyn, who can cover 10, 12, 13 and 15? No. So then add him to the squad as a replacement 10. Okay, so Morne Steyn will replace World Cup winner Alton Jantjies, who has been in the fold and second choice number 10 for the Springboks, and who is currently showing quality up in France for power. Of course not. Alton Jantjies would be the better replacement at this point in time. Had it been a few years back, I would have said, sure, Morne Steyn. Okay, so Morne Steyn will be the third choice 10 for the Springboks, and a squad member that will probably not see much action throughout the tournament. But wait, isn't there a young 23-year-old fly-half who has proven his worth over the last few seasons and would probably benefit the most from being selected in the squad? If it came down to Morne Steyn or Curwin Bosch for that third fly-half position in the squad, the sensible choice would be to go with Bosch. I would argue that Bosch is the future Springbok fly-half, and yes, he's not there yet and he has so much more to learn, especially in defense. But that is exactly why he must be the player to take that spot. When it comes down to confidence with the boot, Bosch and Steyn are inseparable. Bosch more so when it comes to those long-range penalties. However, Steyn does bring a more experienced and calm head to the game. Experience cannot be taught, it needs to be lived. Bosch cannot grow without the opportunities to gain that invaluable experience. Opportunities Morne Steyn has already had. The selection of Morne Steyn will benefit Morne Steyn and perhaps this British and Irish Lions tour. But the selection of Curwin Bosch will benefit future SA Rugby. It's week 4 of the Rainbow Cup SA competition and the stakes have never been higher. The winner of this competition will be travelling north to face off against the winner of the European Rainbow Cup. With everything to play for, there is no doubt the action will be heating up, with the Bulls looking like the favourites to go all the way, while the Sharks and Stormers are still not quite out of it. This weekend's action kicks off on Saturday at 1 p.m. with the Sharks hosting the Stormers at Johnson's King Park. The Stormers just nudged a win over the Lions last weekend, tasting their first victory of the tournament. The Stormers should have won their matches against both the Bulls and the Sharks, but their lack in discipline and composure let them down in the second half of each game. Looking at their team selection this week, it is clear that the Stormers are eager to win, with key players returning to the fold. This past weekend also saw the Sharks lose their first game against the Bulls up in Pretoria. If you only watched the first half of that game, you'd say that the Sharks are still in it to win it. On the other hand, if you only watched the second half performance, you would think that this team belongs at the bottom of the log. Once again, it all comes down to their troubles in the front row. It seems that when Oxenchair and Thomas du Toit leave the field, it all goes to shit. Vian Herp's inclusion at the start of the season seemed to be the answer. However, he has not been any better than any of the Sharks' other options. Up front, both these teams look quite strong, with an almost all Springbok front row on both sides, with the exception of Fezambata. The last time these two sides faced each other, the Sharks won the scrum battle in that opening match of the Rainbow Cup, and I have no doubt that the Stormers will be looking to change that. The Stormers have brought their A-team in the second row, with Ori and Schikkeling returning to the starting lineup. But the Sharks made some changes of their own, with JJ van der Mesh joining Renal Hugo in the second row. The youngster JJ van der Mesh brings excitement to that second row, with his ability to dominate in the lineouts, rucks and force his way over the gain line. After being rested last week, Peter Steph du Toit is back on the field in the starting lineup for the Stormers, while Sikhumbuzo Noche is out for a few months due to a ruptured patella tendon. The Sharks have the upper hand when it comes to their halfback pairing, as Herschel Yankees has not been in form since the start of the season, where on the other hand Jaden Hendricks has probably been the best scrum half in the tournament. And at fly half, the struggling youngster Abner van Reenen goes up against capped Springbok Curwin Bosch. And with that, the battle of the halfbacks will no doubt have to go to the Sharks. In the midfield, the Stormers have Ruan now back from his sevens duties alongside Rikus Pretorius, while the Sharks welcome back from injury Marius Lowe alongside Springbok and captain Lucanio Am. I would say that the Sharks win the midfield battle, but the return of Ruan now throws a spanner in the works. Ruan is a player who has the ability to turn nothing into something. If the Sharks can isolate him, they stand a chance of controlling that midfield battle. Makazole Mapimpi is back in Durban, and I was so looking forward to seeing him on the field this weekend. But the youngster Yao Pente has proven himself at the number 11 spot and deservingly keeps his spot in the starting lineup. Sabu Nkosi is also back after missing out last weekend's match. For the Stormers, the youngster Edwil van der Merwe has been on fire and is one of the players to look out for. Along with the experienced Sergil Peterson, these two wings pose a formidable threat. And finally, at fullback, Damian Willemse takes on the weekend special Apelele Fassi. Both these players have the great ability to break through the defense and both have exceptional aerial skills. So this is going to be a tight clash with both sides evenly matched. However, I do think the Sharks will take it on the basis that they have a better halfback pairing to control this game. So for my Super Brew, I have the Sharks by 6 points. The Lions host the Bulls on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. at Emirates Airline Park. The Lions desperately need to win this game, which means they will be the wild card of this weekend. They were just unfortunate to lose against the Stormers this past weekend, as they were the better team on the day. The Lions dominated the Bulls up front in their last encounter, but just didn't have enough to go all the way. This past weekend also saw the Bulls dominate the Sharks, proving why they are the team to fear in this competition, which also makes them the team every other team will be gunning for. Like the Sharks, the Bulls seem to have some problems in their front row replacements as well, giving away multiple scrum penalties. However, playing Lizo and Trevor off the bench last weekend was a genius move by Jake White, as the Sharks' prop replacements just couldn't match the strength of these Springboks. This gamble could have backfired had the Sharks taken their multiple opportunities in the first half, but they just could not capitalize. Both these teams have a strong pack, meaning we are in for a battle up front. The Lions won the scrum battle last time these two sides met. However, with Lizo Toboka and Trevor Nyakane back and in form, I see the scrums leveling out, making it a pretty tight battle to predict. The Bulls have dominated the lineouts in every game they've played so far, and with consistency in selection, I can't help but give the lineout battle to the Bulls. For the Lions, Willem Alberts is still playing off the bench, which suggests that he's not yet 100% fit. The Lions will desperately need him to come in early and counter the dominant Dwayne Vermeulen. On the other hand, the Bulls also have Marco van Staden, who is proving to be destructive at the breakdowns. If the Lions want to win this game, they need to neutralize these two players, and quick. The Bulls has chosen to rest Morne Steyn this week. However, the halfback pairing of Chris Smith and Ambrose Papir has been as effective. The Bulls have great depth in key areas, which gives them the advantage in this competition. The Lions fly half Jordan Hendrickse had an impressive starting debut against the Stormers last week, but he has a massive task ahead of him this weekend. He will need to try and control this game with accuracy if he wants to put his team on the front foot. Wandisile Simelane and Cornel Hendricks are the guys to look out for in the midfield. Both these players can be extremely dangerous if given the smallest break in defense. While Madosh Tambwe is without doubt the player to look out for in the backline. He has shown an incredible work rate week in and week out. He seems to place himself wherever the action is and reads the defense perfectly. No matter how I look at it, every logical bone in my body says that the Bulls will win this game and comfortably. But my gut is saying that the Lions will cause an upset. So screw it. For my Super Brew, I have the Lions to win it by 3. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Also let me know what your thoughts are on the weekend's games. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, remember to like, subscribe and hit that notification button. Thank you so much for watching.